Welcome back. Episode, do you know, Matt?
1,612.
Okay.
116
Close enough.
of the Grouch and the Brainstorm. I'm Mike, and I'm joined here today with Jill.
Hey, guys.
And Matt.
What's happening?
And, of course, there we are, the Grouch and the Brainstorm.
That's us.
There's us.
The gruesome twosome plus one. How about that? Yeah.
We'll let y'all figure out which ones he's talking about.
Yeah, we'll work on the something happened with the lighting here in the studio.
It did?
Yeah, did y'all not notice how dark it just got?
A cloud, maybe?
The light's not on.
Cloud in the studio. So
Oh, do you need the light on?
yeah, let's get that light. So Matt, what have you been up to, man?
Cutting grass. Spoke today at a treatment center in West Monroe. That was really cool. A new place. Talked to some good people over there, and it was man, I love going in those places like that and hanging out and being around people that's trying to get it right and get it together, you know.
Absolutely.
And that was fun, and just
Nothing
took
like
a little break.
dose of Matt to help them get it together.
Hey,
That's right.
Look, they're thinking right now, I cannot wind up like this guy, you know.
No.
I'm like Matt Foley, the motivational speaker. You know what I mean? I'm living in a van down by the river.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Was that that guy's name? Was that Chris Farley's character's name? Matt
The
Foley?
character was named Matt Foley, and if you know Chris Farley, that was his actual Alcoholics Anonymous sponsor's name in real life.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah, he was a priest. He was a Catholic priest named Matt Foley. They interviewed him in the documentary. It says Matt Foley is this
And
little
has he-
thin guy that's like,
Has he since went on to the meeting?
Farley's up in heaven.
Well, I know where.
Yeah, he's not here.
Think from the numerous documentaries, everybody knows where Farley is right now. So, but the Matt Foley fella, is he?
I guess he's still around.
Still around.
Yeah, I mean, I would think so. Yeah, he younger looking guy, looks nothing like Chris Farley.
Well, I could imagine sponsoring Chris Farley kept him.
Oh
So,
my God!
No.
You would have to be connected. You know,
only
that's-
make so many trips down to the river to that van.
Yeah.
So I am thrice divorced. You know? I love that. I love that whole thing. They said Farley didn't have that whatever they did, that self-preservation when like actors will learn to fall, like he would fall through those tables and stuff.
Yes.
And they said everyone puts their hand out. Even at the last second, everybody that does it, they said Farley didn't have it. He just smashed it. Never put his hand out. He just had no self-preservation. He just, whatever was required, he would do it.
He sounds like an alcoholic.
Oh, he was. He was.
Right.
But
He was. I mean, I really liked him in. What was that show he was in?
Tommy Boy.
Tommy Boy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with David Spade, wasn't it? Or,
Him and Spade were like,
Yeah.
they were a good combo, you know.
I can't even remember. I feel like all those movies kind of blend in together.
and they, I think they were meant to.
Like, I don't know who, it was just all of them.
Yeah.
You know, there's
they
Adam
just
Sandler,
kinda,
all those just kind of melded together.
Yeah.
So-
Spade and Farley were awesome.
Spade and Farley were a heck of a team.
Yeah,
They really
yeah.
were. Jill, where you at? What you been doing?
Man, I have so much has happened. I mean, this week we laid our sweet baby boy Bear down Thursday.
That's your sister's.
That's my sister's dog, and he's been a part of our family for 13 years. He goes everywhere with her to all of our houses, and I went and met her at the vet and was in there with her while they put him down, and it was just heartbreaking.
That's one of the only times I ever heard of my father crying.
Really?
Yeah, when he had to make that trip,
Oh,
to
it was
have
rough, and
have
it's
the
well,
family.
it was one of the only times I've seen my sister cry, but it was rough, and I loved him very much. That happened. I feel like a new woman. Look, y'all are like, oh God, not this shit again.
This could go a lot of ways.
I feel like a new woman too.
That's going that
Figure out
way.
what to do with the old
I mean, and I'm pretty open with you guys, and pretty
Right.
much.
Should
Well,
have sent her on that trip with Bear.
no. My hormones were out of whack.
No, you don't
You're
say. So as a
You're like, no shit.
as a professional in that area, I can tell you, I knew that.
Mike and I are not
professional
professional. We
menopause?
have stayed at Holiday Inns before, though.
Oh, God bless.
Yeah.
Well, and I had just already, I'd been seeing a doctor and they said I was just fine. I went to another one
Was
that
it a
had
woman
that
doctor?
changed. They all are.
They all are. Not necessarily.
Well, I prefer to go to a woman.
So
I understand.
So anyway, my progesterone was low and everything. They got me all taken care of, and all of a sudden I sleep. This like dark cloud disappeared. My anxiety disappeared, and I was just like, oh well. And this is the thing. I mean, like, and I want to talk about this in another episode, but it really affects women.
Your well-being.
It affects everybody. I wasn't that bad, but literally, seriously, I think every time you guys came over, I was like dead in my bed, like just
You remember on Ace Ventura when they went and got him off the pyramid with the monks?
I never seen it.
They went and got him, and then they took him out of there, and he was trying to be a monk, but he's wild. He's Ace Ventura. And they finally took him away, and all the monks are like partying. And Jim Carrey's like, that's weird. I've never seen them act like that before. They're monks. That's, me and Mike are back here going, yay, she got her hormones.
Well, I mean, like I was that bad, huh?
No.
But
We don't know.
I feel amazing. I feel like you bullshit.
all of a sudden snakes are crawling everywhere. It don't bother a bit.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll take away the snake phobia, but I feel great. And there's so many different things. I mean, it's just bizarre little symptoms that you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And it makes you feel crazy. But anyway, that thank God. That's all I got to say is thank God, because I was getting very wary, and I was like, I can't handle this any longer. And
I
just
take it they put you on some meds and got you right. Huh?
yeah, there were 2 of my hormones that were off.
See, the good positive I'm hearing out of this is you actually acknowledge that something was off. The women that scare me are the ones like, there's nothing wrong with me, and there's snakes coming out behind their head. Those will get you.
Matt can tell you his Willie Nelson joke later. You can laugh about
It's a
it.
classic.
Well, but like work was crazy this week. It's getting hotter, and in DOC camps they don't have AC.
Ooh.
In the dorms, and it just is getting kind of wild. I did a lot of put people on suicide watch, and
But it gets a little smelly in there.
that doesn't change.
Oh, it's no matter where
Air
that
doesn't
No.
matter. It's
I walked through so much Mojo smoke today that I'm just. Am I sober?
Drug test yourself.
walking
Right.
through some Febreze clouds.
No, it was some for real.
Hey,
it's like you walk into the dorm, they're like, female on the tier, and then all of a sudden all these toilets start flushing.
I don't drink coffee at all, and I was at the Koala Club one time in between. I was working 2 jobs, and I was exhausted, and I went to a meeting, and I was like, you know what, I'll have a cup of coffee. I was on my way to the second job. Man, I drank that thing, and let me tell you what, I thought I was going to pull over and call my sponsor. I was high as a giraffe's ass, okay? And it was coffee, man. I was like, what a wuss I am.
It's been kind of wild. I had someone swallow toenail clippers this week.
Ooh, better
And
than
I'm
toenail
talking
clippings.
the big ones.
The big,
What you mean big ones? Like
Well, there's the
those are
small
called
toenail
bolt
clippers,
cutters.
and then there's the big ones about this big.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
fingernail, and the other one, which the
Toenail.
it just grosses me out to even hear it, much less say it.
Well, yeah, it went down the
Why would they?
went down the chute.
They were trying to hold on to them for later, like another area.
They were gonna.
What do I do?
They were gonna.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm asking.
It's some mental health issues.
Oh, I thought they were gonna escort them out later. and
Like
try to
file
use
the
them
bars or
No.
something. Yeah.
to break
No,
out of jail
no.
or something.
No, they can have certain items, but anyway, I mean, like, it's stuck in his chest
Ooh.
or around this area.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it wouldn't even go to his stomach yet.
Well, I don't know. They ended up having to take him to the ER. So
Cut him open or
hopefully
pump
it's
his
okay.
stomach or something.
I don't know. I think it'd be harder on him coming back than going down.
Yeah, you
know?
might well let that go at some point. Just let it do what it do.
But I mean, like, things are big. They get stuck somewhere.
Yeah.
You can die from that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Well, anyway, yeah. So it's been a wild week, but a good week and a sad week. Lots of emotions, and I made it through, and I'm glad it's Friday.
We're all the guys where you work, where they're like, "Hey, Miss Jill, glad to see you." They're all going, "Hey, you look like you feel better." The jail guys.
Fire in the hole. Or what do they say? Female on the stairs?
Female fire.
Fire in the hole.
I knew it was something like that. I just couldn't remember.
I'm getting to know them, and they're getting to know me, and yeah, they notice everything.
They're lucky to have you. I can tell you that. So they're lucky to have somebody. Yeah, I don't know how long I'd last in a place like that. I watch all them documentaries, and I'm like,
It's definitely interesting.
Yeah, no doubt.
Wow.
What about you, Michael?
Not a lot.
Yeah.
As you can tell, though, I am sporting a new hat
Yeah.
with a new team, and it's for a reason. And the real reason is because my Dodgers hat is so old. Every time I take it out, it leaves indentions in my head that stay there for like 3 hours. So, but my personal assistant went with her family to New York City a couple weeks ago, and she went to a Yankees game, and actually bought me this hat at Yankee Stadium, which my LA hat came from LAX. It didn't actually come from Dodger Stadium, so I actually got a major league hat from a major league stadium.
Nice.
Yeah. I got limits. I'll only wear hats from the stadium or the airport.
Got it. Okay.
And,
I only go truck stops on my hats. All truck stops.
which explains all the Buc-ee's hats that I have.
Yes.
Oh, do you really have any Buc-ee's hats you have?
No, it's bumper stickers, stuff like that. But you after so many beaver nuggets, you're not excited anymore.
Never had them.
Well,
You come from Dallas.
every day, just about.
I need beaver nuggets.
I'll bring you some next time I come.
What the hell are beaver nuggets?
It's more like, to me, it's like a kettle corn type substance. It's sweet.
It sounds horrible for you.
What else has been going on with me? I've had my son's vehicle all week because he took my truck to Florida. His son, his daughter, his stepson, his wife, and my ex-wife all went to the beach. in
Yeah,
Florida.
nice.
And they took my truck, either to haul stuff or whatever, and I had his vehicle, and I noticed on day one of having it, right? I was like, man, the front end sounds like it's about to fall off of this freaking vehicle, right? And it's a Range Rover. They have a certain way they drive, and that one just wasn't driving like it. So I took it to my place the very first day and tore the front end off of it. And we're talking about Texas heat, excruciating, right? I'm wearing blue jeans and boots. I mean,
Mike.
and in a garage, no air. But anyway, I tore the front end off of it, took the tires off. Well, come to find out, he had the wrong size brake pads, and the bottom bolt on both calibers came loose. So you're talking about it's just
Just rattling up.
So I went and got the right size hardware and just redid the whole front, and now it drives like a dream.
Just look at you.
Yeah, it drives.
That was awfully handy of you, Mike.
Here's who I'm impressed with. Wyatt. Wyatt's like, I'm going to go to the beach, and
I'm going to dump him with this light.
Pops will get that while I'm at the beach.
I can't help.
I can hear him saying, "My dad's not going to drive that thing."
See, I have boys. I understand how this works.
I have a feeling that was meant to be.
But after day one, man, I had it. It's still held up. I put Loctite in the bolts so they didn't back out. Which I think the vibration of the wrong size pads caused the bolts
to shear off,
to come back
Did he
out.
do that?
Yeah, he did his own brake work.
Oh.
And so anyway, we got it fixed. That's rolling. And besides that, my number 2 guy in charge went out on paternity leave.
Yeah, good.
Starting today. They're expecting their first here in the next few days. He is from Jordan, the country.
Okay.
Jordan. And he grew up in Iraq. He's lived in London. He's lived in Germany. Somehow he's here. And so anyway, where I'm going with that is his family has now flown in, and they have to come in from all across the world.
Yes, sounds like
Mother-in-law come from London, parents came from Jordan, and they've all converged in little old Dallas, Texas, to get ready for the first one. So, and without my number 2 person, I'm
Man.
gonna be busy.
Yeah, you are. You're going to be like quadrupled up.
I got a really good team, really good backup, and a pretty good plan. I think he's only going to take 6 weeks, and then come back for a couple weeks, and then take his other 6. I think that's what he has planned anyway. So, but like I told him today, bro, you don't worry about this place. You get one shot, and take it. This is family time, and.
You have a baby.
I'm gonna tell you, my son is 28 years old, and when he was born, I was on the phone in the emergency room with my boss explaining when I was coming back.
Damn.
And I probably would still hear about that if I hung around the immediate family for any length of time. Right? All these years later, I mean, even though he didn't care, he's a baby, but you hear this.
Oh yeah.
So one shot. Don't worry about us. We'll handle up here. You handle up there, and we'll all converge back when we're supposed to. So, besides that, I can't think of anything going on. I do have a couple of announcements. So we'll cue the music.
Smooth.
Yeah. So June 10th, Randy T is going to tell his story at the Tulane group at the Highland Club. And I really want that recorded. Todd, the 17th, 1 week later, and then on the 24th, Joey T. I don't know Joey T. But those 2 gentlemen are members of the Half Past 5, right? And then we got some birthdays coming up, right? So I don't know anybody on this board except for me. So, Mike W. has 14 years on the 21st.
Yep.
Yeah. There are 2 deceased members on the board. Chances are they won't be there for the party.
Probably no cake or anything.
But Greg A, couple years, Jessica C, couple years, Frank 1 year, Ken H 4 years, Stephanie F 2 years, Lisa E 3 years. I don't know. You know Lisa E? I don't either. Stacy
Our Lisa,
M,
but she just had a birthday.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know.
Stacy M has 8 years, and Solomon has 1 year.
The wisdom of Solomon.
The way I guess so.
I'm with you, bro. I don't know
But
none of them people.
I'm hoping we can get Randy T's story recorded so that we can publish it as a separate episode. Because
I would love that.
If anybody knows anything about my story, there is a really good chance. I don't want to say that because I just don't know. God works the way God works. But I can tell you that one of the reasons that I stayed was because of Randy T. He has probably been my sponsor for the past 14 years, but he's never been my sponsor.
Yeah.
Never sat down and worked us. I would call Randy before I would call my sponsor.
Yeah.
Because he had always just, it was just so much easier to talk to him. And, and so over the years, we've served on the board together. We just did all kind of things. But I remember getting there to the club and going, I want to be like this guy. And he had 15 years when I got there.
Really?
Yeah. He was the president of the Koala Club. He had 15 years. He was just knew his stuff when it came to Alcoholics Anonymous. And, there were days where I would come in and, back in the early times, fussing and all that good business. And Randy'd just be like, well, have you drank today? And I'd be like, no. Did you want to drink? No, that ain't got nothing to do with what's going on. He's like, well, then you're batting 100. You're actually living life the way life's supposed to be lived if you haven't drank today. It's when you go drink is when you start to fail.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there were many times. I'm talking about marriages, divorces, car purchases, finances. Just anything
All
you
of
can think
it.
of. Randy was always really involved in that. And the service work part of my journey has had a lot to do with Randy not wanting to do anything. And,
I was waiting on that one. I was waiting on
no, actually, that's how I looked at it in the beginning. This
Randy's
guy,
a service work delegator, is what he is.
Uh-huh.
He likes to
He is
pick a
on-
man for a job.
he's on top of that. You know,
Yes.
and he sponsored
Wisdom.
some of the big boys in the clubs. You know.
Okay.
But his biggest claim to fame of all that stuff and all those accolades, all that, out there stuff, he donated this table right here to
Oh,
the Groucho's
yeah,
Brainstorm
sure
for us
enough.
to start the whole deal.
Yeah.
And Mike drilled holes in his table and put carpet on it, and this thing came out of Randy's garage. It's
Yeah.
been with us the whole ride.
We've had a lot of folks on this table, haven't we, man?
yeah,
That just didn't sound right.
no,
It didn't.
No, it
Didn't
did not.
When I was gonna say there's a lot of holes in this table, and we've had a lot of folks on this table.
No.
But Randy did, man, immediately. Hey, you want a table? Well, yeah.
Well, I think I was sitting there, and I was like, I'm trying to find a table big enough, and he's like, I got a table. All you gotta do is come get it, and
Yeah.
so I went and got it. And so the table that we have been recording on since day one, 116 episodes, came from Randy T.
And thank you, Randy.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a man. And when it comes to ideas and innovating and all that, the Koala Club, for someone that's been around as long as Randy, he has never held the club back. You know, so when I was on the board the first time, the president of the club, I really wanted Wi-Fi in the club, and the board just kind of pushed it to the side, and they kind of just didn't want to go with that. And
Yeah.
then so I left, went to New Orleans. I was actually the president for about a year after New Orleans, and I gave it up, moved back 3 years after that. I was gone 4 years, moved back 3 years after that, came back to the board, got back as president, and then Randy immediately is like, what about that Wi-Fi idea? And the board had already voted it in. No one had actually just wanted to put it in the budget. So, I mean, it was... He's just always backed innovation, and he can see. So he's one of those people that can see the changes in our society that are going to have to take place in order to adapt to the people that use the club. So
For sure.
I look forward to hearing his story. I won't be able to make it to town, but I know that's one story I would like to hear, because I've never heard it in all
absolutely.
these years. I've never heard it.
Really?
Never heard him tell a story. But definitely one of the pioneers in my sobriety or my recovery, which, and there's different pioneers for different things, if that makes any sense. But Randy, my first 12-step call was with Randy.
Yeah.
And
Kind of a walking historian of the Koala Club,
He
too.
is.
Like, he's known, seen them all come and go.
And this dude I remember one time he sat down and he's like, I don't remember who it was. I'll just take a random old group, because Randy's like in his late 60s, about 68. And he would go, he's like, oh man, Three Dog Night's coming to town. You going to see him? And I'm like, no.
No, thanks.
No.
So I said by him.
I don't even know what they do. But then when Todd Rundgren, who I did know, came to town, I was like, hey, you going to see Todd Rundgren? He's like, oh no, I don't like Todd Rundgren.
I've never even... Who's Todd Rundgren?
Todd Rundgren? Hello, it's me. You've
Crickets.
never heard the song? Hello, it's me. I thought about us for a long, long time.
I sat by Randy
You never heard
at
a song?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
I sat by
Scared me.
Randy
Whew.
early
Like
on.
you missed the whole 70s. Like, do you know who Andy Gibb is?
Well, yes.
Not Barry, not Robin, not Maurice, Andy.
I mean, I think.
He sang Shadow Dancing.
I just...
Yeah.
We're all like...
How about Leif Garrett?
I mean, he was cute.
That's chewing tobacco, isn't it?
No, that's Levi, his older brother.
Same thing.
Leif Garrett. If y'all
Yes, he was beautiful.
if y'all remember watching
Eyes made for dance.
if you watch Joe Dirt, he's on the train tracks telling his story, and then when Dennis Miller, or the guy doing the radio, tells his story, he's dancing to that song instead of this whatever song it was, So yeah, so that back in those days.
Yeah.
Yeah, Randy, I sat by him early on one time at a meeting, and he had his little iPad thing or something out, and he's just kind of just easily scrolling through it. And I'm like, yeah, it's old timer. He's reading something out of the Daily Reflection, or something. And I kind of look over to see he was reading the autobiography of Jim Croce. I was like, that's the most Randy book. Yeah. So anyway, he's just kind of thumbing through it while the meeting was going on.
Randy's also kind of like me. He's been on some form of some diet since I've met him.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. It could be keto. It could be nothing but vegetables. It could be nothing but meat. It could be paleo. He's just like me. He's always been on a diet. But I will say this, Randy's 68 years old. He does not look 68 years old.
No.
And he seems to be in fairly good health, as does his wife.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, something, and they have exercise time and all this other things. So,
that's
yeah.
sweet.
Yeah, we could go on and on about Randy.
We really could.
Thanks for the table, Randy.
So I stopped by the club today on the way in. I came in early, and I stopped by the club, and me and a senior member of the club, guy been sober since like '93, were talking, and we were talking about one of the recent members that has relapsed. Okay, and I'm not gonna say any names; it's nobody's business, but whoever. And but we were talking about it, and somewhere in that conversation, because I had a topic picked actually, but somewhere in that conversation, he made the comment, "It's a disease," right?
Yeah.
And actually, the topic I had picked was stereotypes. Like so everybody thinks alcoholic's supposed to be under a bridge or drinking out of a paper bag, or the guy on
or just
right. But that was the original topic. But when
whatever that was,
when the guy I was talking to said, "But it's a disease," it kind of made me jump back and think we have never really discussed it from a disease point.
No, we haven't.
Alcoholism, and that has often been an area where people do not. Some people just don't agree, even to this day.
Oh, a lot of people don't, and I mean, I'm kind of on the fence. I look at it as both.
Both what?
Well, a disease, but also a self-will and choice.
Yeah.
And so,
what do they define? Sorry.
So yeah, the AMA, the American Medical Association, defines addiction as a chronic relapsing brain disease. It is characterized by compulsive drug seeking and use despite adverse consequences and involves functional changes in brain circuits related to reward, stress, and self-control. This definition emphasizes the underlying neurobiological changes that make addiction a treatable yet chronic condition.
Robin Gibb was actually my favorite BG.
What?
Just so we know.
I'm glad we know this now.
He sang Massachusetts.
I knew that.
You did?
No,
know
you
that.
did.
I even know
I was like, no, you didn't.
Can you hum a few bars?
No. That's all they did. That's all I think.
Oh, that one dude's like,
That's
Barry.
Barry.
Everybody knows Barry.
And actually, Barry wrote a lot of songs for a lot of people, especially Barbara Streisand.
I sounded just like him, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
Because
got
he
it
has that really like,
Yeah, he's got that glass
bulb
breaking.
shot.
Oh, and then what's the one where they all sing like that? Heaven, no one gets too much heaven no more. You know what I'm talking about? Where they all
I don't know. I
sound
don't
like,
go that deep into.
They all
the
sound like
BGs.
6-year-old boys.
Yeah. I don't know.
You know what I mean? They get up there, boy. So
they may call it a chronic brain disease. It says it is not simply a behavioral problem or a result of bad choices. It's a disease that affects the brain structure and function. And I've actually talked to a lot of people about this. A lot of people. I get this because I am an alcoholic and I am a drug addict in recovery, and I feel like there was a point that there wasn't a choice.
I see that.
I needed it to survive.
Mm-hmm. I got that. I'm with you on that too.
But still, I can also say at the same time, I did have a choice. I could easily not pick it up. So, yeah, I get the neurobiological changes and how it affects neurotransmitters and how it affects our body. Because if it is left untreated, you can die from it.
Correct.
just like any other disease. And that makes sense to me. But, we also say that alcoholism and drug addiction is a disease that, where we do have choice and where we do have self-will. And so it also I can feel like I can contradict myself when I talk about it. But what I think it is just a poor coping skill. And we use it to the point that it becomes something else over time. And that is it becomes a necessity.
Becomes its own monster.
Yeah, it becomes a necessity. And like after that point,
so at that point you're alcohol dependent.
Exactly.
Which I was.
And I was too. I would have withdrawals if I did not drink alcohol, sure. But also at the same time, I still have self-will and I have choice to do something about it. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, because it does sound contradicting.
Well, and I think I agree with you, Jill. I think I see where people are coming from. And I think that now that they classify it as a disease, there's a way to treat it. If you have a disease, you can treat it.
Absolutely.
So here's a treatment plan. And I think that's the cool part of that. And like you were saying, like coping skills, I think mine was a lack of like it's more like a spiritual disease, kind of a brain spiritual mixed disease, sort of, because I didn't have another way to deal with things.
Right.
And that's kind of what you're saying. And I've always heard people, I have this disease, and I agree. And I think it's great they call it that, because now we have treatment centers. We have, they've always had AA groups and things like that, but forever. But now it's when somebody comes in, they go, I'm addicted to drugs or alcohol. And we go, here's what you do. You go here, you go here, you go here.
Absolutely.
And you keep it at bay and you do those things. The trick with me is, why does my brain revert back to that sometimes? And I go, what is it in me that's trying to trip that little thing? Because if it gets going, it's hard to stop.
Well, and that's why they're saying it's a behavior, it's not necessarily behavioral or a result of bad choices, but it affects the brain structure and function. And just like with any other, illness, disease, there is a potential for relapse.
So I'm going to ask you a question I don't know the answer to. Okay?
Yes.
Is bulimia a disease?
I would think so. Absolutely.
Okay. So
it's an eating disorder.
So alcohol, wouldn't that be another brain disorder, just like bulimia?
Absolutely.
So it'd be, instead of an eating disorder, it'd be a drinking disorder.
Yeah,
sure.
Absolutely.
Remember
but they
show
say
Airplane, where the guy had a drinking problem, and every time he'd pick up, I don't know what I'm talking about.
I can't remember. I do have some. I did love the movie, but I can't remember.
Well, Ted Stryker had a drinking problem, and every time he'd pick up a glass, he would put it in his forehead. That was his drinking.
I think this is coming back to me.
Couldn't get it in his mouth.
Well, but they're saying it's a brain disorder, and I do believe, and maybe it's a cognitive. Something is happening in our brains that tells us, first of all, we don't have a problem.
Yep. Yeah, my brain told me that a lot.
And all the other deluded thinking that we have. Our brain just tells us stuff like, oh, well, my problem's not that bad.
And you've heard, and I know y'all have, and I've heard somebody say it. I've heard it said a bunch of times, but it's the only disease that doesn't say we have a problem. If you had lung cancer, your lungs mess up, you do all those things, you go, oh my God, something's wrong. I got to go to the doctor. Anybody would do that.
Absolutely.
With this, we do everything we can not to address you know what I mean, for the most part.
And that's a delusional thinking about it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And to think, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I just think that's where I get confused on the on the disease part, and I think it is more mental and spiritual, because there's something going on there that's telling me, don't worry, don't listen to all them people.
Yeah.
You're good.
Well, and I think about, where my addiction led me, and I was very sick, and there were, I was having some liver issues, but the fact that I saw that and I'm watching my body deteriorate and nothing in my brain said
Stop.
Yeah.
Nothing in your brain said stop. I didn't
Nothing.
Didn't mean
Yeah.
stop.
nothing in my brain said something. There's a problem here.
Yeah.
It just never registered. And now I know if I get a spot on me, if I had the spots covering me like I had back then, I'd be like, holy shit, I need to go to the doctor.
Well, here's the deal. For some reason, kind of like you just said, whenever I had this thing or have it, I still have it. I just don't use it, right?
Right.
But whenever I would have signs like that, and I would think of a million things it was other than the alcohol.
Exactly. Like it never once was like, you know
You
what?
wake up
I
and
think
you're-
that's the drugs.
Seriously, like I had this thought, okay, 100%. Wake up, get up, you go to the bathroom, whatever, you're starting your day. You look up, blood dripping down the sink, it's coming out of your nose, and I go, man, my allergies are really acting up. It's either that or the 2 bags of cocaine I did the night before.
Right.
It's probably allergies. You know, maybe I should go get a shot.
How
you
big
know?
were these bags?
2 pound. I'm just kidding.
Dude, did
No, but
Big
seriously,
enough.
I
Big enough.
yeah, I used to would like I had blood all over my mattress.
Yeah, and but that's the mentality. Like I remember going, man, my allergies are terrible.
It's
try some Flonase.
it's
Man.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
That we fool ourselves into thinking nothing's wrong
And we do.
when actually any clear-headed person can look at that and go, "What the fuck?"
I was at a treatment center today. Was talking to some guys over there, some people, and I told them, I said, you know, in my journey to get to treatment, from starting, you know, serious progression of drinking and using as an adult, basically, I had 8 people. It's probably triple that amount now that I'm sober in the 7 years I've been sober, but have died that I sat there and watched this eat them alive in one way or another. Whether it was car wrecks, seizures, had them die from seizures, shooting up stuff in their arms. One guy got shot by the police with drugs in his car, ran, got out, tried to fight him, and they shot him dead.
It's not the drugs, it's the police.
Yeah, it was the police. If they'd have left him alone, you know, or if he had a faster car, he'd have been fine. He'd have got away. But,
Disordered thinking.
but all that, I never, me sitting there drinking and using, watching this going on, never went, I went, you know what? I ain't going to do that right there, but I might do kind of
This
the same
right
thing.
here.
Yeah. I'm going to get a faster car. That way the police don't shoot me. You know, I get away. I mean,
It's there's so many justifications and rationalizations and denial and minimizations and comparing. It just
Move over into the insanity part
Exactly.
of whether you call it a disease or not, the insanity part of alcoholism, right? Because you can say, I'm going to stop today, right? Today's the day I'm going to stop. And I mean, for me, and I can only give my experience, but it wasn't 3 or 4 hours later, I had already talked myself into doing that.
yeah.
And that goes back, we read the Jay Walker story. We had a whole episode on the Jay Walker story, but
Great story.
if touching a hot stove hurts me and I touch it and it burns me, I'm not going to stand back and go, I'm never touching that again. Oh, I got to do it. I got to do it.
No.
And that's alcohol and it actually long term does more damage than touching the hot stove.
Absolutely.
But for some reason, that insanity kicks in, and this time it's gonna be different. And maybe it comes from the human nature of always being able to survive, solve a problem, right? So I'll figure out a way around this, or this is what happened here. I just won't. For me, it ended up after years and years of drinking, I'll hide my keys. Okay. First off, if you hide your keys when you're sober, you're going to remember where they are when you're drunk. But I'm going to
100%.
hide my keys, hide my cell phone.
Not necessarily.
Seriously?
Not in my case. I'm just kidding.
I would hide my keys, hide my cell phone, and
Why?
grab a half, so I didn't get on the phone with nobody, so I didn't go
Oh.
nowhere. But I would hide my keys, hide my cell phone, grab that half gallon of vodka, start in on it, you know, at first enjoying it for, you know, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes. And then come to, like, I don't know, 16 hours later with almost the whole half gallon empty car done been got yellow streaks on the side of it from where I ran into a pole somewhere, and cell phone. Lord, I mean, just like no. There's something there. I mean, you call it whatever you. I kind of like to call it a disease because if not, what in the blank? Does that make any sense? What
exactly.
What kind of?
What was that?
Who does? I woke up one morning, okay, and this was in July, and had to be the July before I got sober because everything went to hell that last year, 6 months. But I woke up one day and it was in July. It was really hot outside. It was like 11 o'clock in the morning, Bossier City, Louisiana. The heater was on. All the blinds were up. The front door was open, and there was a big pile of dog shit right in the floor.
And you didn't have a dog.
I didn't have a dog.
I knew that was coming.
And never once did I even wonder where'd this dog shit come
Or
from.
why do I have the heater on in July?
I'm just, and this really happened. So you, if that happened to, let's just say, Billy Joe Jones next door that ain't no alcoholic, but they went to bed after a couple of drinks one night, woke up and all that was going on, they probably would never do it again.
Yeah.
And I was terrified until I did it again.
It's a thinking problem. It's just the way we think, that insanity of.
So what leads this thinking problem, though, Matt, to go on into our 40s, 50s, 60s?
And some of us to our death.
I got sober at 38 years old, but I know men in their 60s that struggle to this day. You would think there'd be enough, if this isn't a disease, right? Some form or another, because I believe there are mental health diseases.
Sure.
If this isn't something wrong, a disease of some sort, these people have enough life experience to know if I do this, this is going to happen.
Right.
There is something in our brain that says this time it's going to be different. More about alcoholism in the big book, the actual first couple paragraphs, or the little thing people read at meetings. Mm-hmm. It describes it to a T, and we just live that life over and over in circles.
And never once go, this isn't working for me. I mean, it is ridiculous. But
what's even crazier is all these years down the line, which I'm only 14 years sober, and I don't say that in any other way, but I hang around with people who have 30, 25, whatever, right? 14 years, yes, that's a long time. It is. But at this point in my life, I'm 53 years old. I cannot look back and think, how was that normal? Why did I do that?
Isn't that crazy? I think about that all the time.
Well, that is a spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
That is a psychic change.
Psychic.
That is a psychic
That's what they
change.
have in Alabama.
That's a spiritual awakening. That's a psychic change that can be undone by not having a program, taking that first drink. So my thought process, I have no doubt in my mind, would go back exactly where it was. No, not where it was 14 years ago, as if I had never stopped 14 years ago. If I don't have some form of program, some recovery. AA don't own the gamut on that. It's just what I use, right?
Right.
I mean, where are all these drugs now that everybody take to lose weight, Manjaro and Kilimanjaro and vasectomy.
Is Monjuni's one? I take that one.
Their
Vasectomy?
Their sauce is amazing. But whatever these drugs are, right? There's no one has the bill on that, right? So AA doesn't have the bill on recovery.
Right.
But I can tell you right now, anything is better than nothing.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
And so that is where if I don't do anything long enough, even with 14 years, even being 53, even have a life that people would want to stay sober for, right? This amazing life I have. If I don't have something, I'm going to revert back to where I was. Now, anybody, especially naysayers, can say, you don't know that. You don't know that. Well, I've sat in the rooms for the past 14 years, and I've seen people with 20-plus years go back out because they've got 20 years, and they feel like now they can do it different.
Yeah.
And therefore, there's got to be something different about those of us who can't consume alcohol. Right. Can't consume it the way it's supposed to be. Right. I have absolutely nothing against people who drink. I don't have
not at
a
all.
bone to pick with alcohol. Number one, ain't got nothing to do with me, right?
Yeah.
I just can't do it.
Right.
I can't do
same.
it, and I can't, because once I do, well, it's bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
It just doesn't.
I did talk to a lady today at the treatment center. Was a client. She came up to me as I was leaving, and she said, "Thanks for coming and all that." They were very nice folks over there. But she said, "I had 10 years. I had a home group, had all that stuff. 10 years. She was a nurse in rehab." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Well, why do you think that happened?" And she said, "I forgot what I was. I forgot all those things, and I got away from those things, and it became a slow process of not working a recovery program of some kind." And she said it just got to a point, and then all of a sudden, she said, when I did it, it was immediate disaster.
Damn,
And she said very
and that's
quickly.
what we all hear. What I do want to tell you guys is talk about like the definition of disease. And I think that, a lot of people don't realize that it can be just this simple. It says a disorder of structure or function in a human. It says especially one that has known cause and a distinctive group of symptoms, signs, or anatomical changes. It changes your anatomy.
Well, we know alcohol and drugs changes the anatomy of a brain.
Oh, absolutely.
Physically.
Wernicke's Korsakoff.
That's what I was
That's
thinking.
the guy who
It's called wet
danced
brain.
on Say You,
no,
Say
no,
Me.
no,
wasn't
that's
it?
not. That's not it. It's otherwise known as wet brain.
Oh.
Where you drink, you literally just kind of like to just pickle your whole brain. But doesn't that sound a little bit less threatening, or not threatening, but it just seems less severe, because it's like, oh well, there's just signs and symptoms that go along with
I was
this.
thinking of Nikolai Rodchenko
So close.
and Gregory Hines in Say You, Say Me.
I was thinking of the Russian on The Sopranos when they killed that dude out in the woods, the Pine Barrens episode. If y'all didn't see that,
But physically, okay,
Yeah,
the brain does change.
absolutely. Well, it's not only that, your liver changes. It can change your heart. It changes, like a lot of things change.
I mean, that to me sounds like a disease.
Absolutely. I can get down with this right here.
So it's the only other way I could classify it would be a parasite. Because a parasite can actually get in your brain and cause physical changes in your brain.
Absolutely.
That causes your behavior to be different than what it normally would be, provided said parasite wasn't there.
Right.
Well, alcohol gets in your brain. Apparently, it eats at something. Hell, I don't know what. But it makes your thought process change. And until that part of the brain repairs itself, or new neuro whatever, grow in whatever direction,
Yeah.
well, then you're going to think the way you think until you have some. You're not going to stay away from the alcohol, though, without some form of recovery program.
I agree.
And that goes back to what I was going to talk about, the stereotype of it. I guess we see on TV and from commercials, and a lot of times, I don't know, some of the medicine commercials are really misleading. Not about alcohol, but medicine in general.
Oh my gosh, where you can die from every.
Well, you have this whole family cooking burgers in the backyard because dad takes Cialis or whatever it is, and may cause blood,
Heart attack, diarrhea.
bloody explosive diarrhea
may at a barbecue with your family.
may cause your lungs to collapse.
May cause diarrhea or death. I'm like, oh my God, there's only two choices. Huh?
It's in everything in between.
And so, but some of these things we see, like treatment centers, not necessarily AA related, but just treatment centers, and everybody's on a hiking trail, and they're looking out at the sunset or the sunrise and the moon, and that's great till you come off the hiking trail. That's great till you come out of that. I don't care if it's a 1 year spot. You've got to come back to this.
Yeah, back to square one.
Or, but that does allow the brain time to heal.
Agreed. And not only that, those biological changes to happen, like your body expel, the certain toxins, and it begin the healing process.
Yes, that's what I meant. Like,
And that's why I had to go to treatment. Like I could not.
I had to be separated from the liquor
Yeah.
long enough to, I guess I had to be separated long enough to get scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had, like, I had to have a medical detox or else I would have died.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the medical detox
But
is
you know,
way
and
more fun.
the other part of this that we hadn't touched on a lot, but going to being into recovery for several years and actually being, happy with life and understanding what's going on with life is the spiritual side of it and having a higher power. And I think that's the part for me that I did not have. That's what I didn't have coming into Alcoholics Anonymous.
Definitely got to talk about the spiritual sickness. I'm glad you said that.
Because that's the thing that I revert back to every day. That's the one constant. Whether I even go to a meeting or not, I have my little moment and I go, hey, this is my connection here. This is what I'm trying to do. I didn't do that before getting sober. And it took me a few years of kind of developing that and understanding of a higher power and what mine was. And that's a big deal to me. And so that no matter where I'm at, I can't always go to a meeting. I can't always call my sponsor.
Yeah.
He may be busy. Other things, that's always there. And that's been a very key factor in the whole addiction thing. And I think just through having that relationship as well and being able to see things in my own life, working with a sponsor going, hey, you got this going on. And those things are kind of pointed out and I'm able to work on them and understand I don't have to drink. I can deal with this in the way that I know at the time, the best way, and crawl through it if I have to, but it starts to get better. And I started to see results. And so that's been, for me, I think that's the big part. And it's 2 of the first 3. That's what it's about, because we got to get that pretty early and get that in our head, or
It almost seems like your brain is out to get you there in the very beginning, if that don't make any sense. It's almost like your brain is no other way to put it. Your brain is out to get you.
Hey, I can still let it, even now sober.
Sure. Well, me too. There's times where I've got to go, hang on a minute, dude. This ain't you.
Right.
Just
Let
chill.
the stop. Right. Well, I mean, but think about this, and maybe it is because we've done what has been suggested, and I do feel like all alcoholics and addicts, we have a void, and we have things that aren't resolved. We have a lack of coping skills. We have a lack in many different ways, and if we don't find ways to deal with them, to heal, to cope, to fill that void, then we're going to be left twiddling our thumbs, and we're going to get bored and we're going to do something stupid. And I think it's like a culmination of like all of that. To me, it was there was a lot of, I'm glad I found God in the rooms. I'm glad I have found joy in, with my pigs and my garden and my land and everything. And, but like I have a full life. I have a full program of recovery. I work with you guys. This could be considered a meeting.
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely. More than one person.
Exactly. I still have sponsees and I have a sponsor and I stay in touch with them, but I think it's like laying down the groundwork. Like there's so many things that have to change. So many things.
And I think too, we're okay identifying, and y'all can probably tell me better. Y'all are a lot farther along than probably twice as far along in this as me. But as I go, there becomes more things that I go, oh, I need to really work on this. Like I'm 6-7 years down the road and I'm going, ooh, wait a minute. I don't like this about myself or whatever it might be. But it doesn't scare me today. It doesn't like I have to hide from this.
Or you don't have to run from it.
Yeah, I don't have to run from it. I just go, hey, I got to work on this and start working on it.
I like that because it's for me, and I'm sure a lot of us, it's continued self-growth.
Yeah.
I'm not sabotaging myself anymore. And when something does pop up, I want to figure out what's really going on. Like I'll need to get in touch with my emotions, my ego, and all of that.
Hormones.
And I feel like, right?
I'm kidding. Sorry.
Yes.
Well, if you stop doing that,
Yeah.
I think that's also going to be a huge problem, a huge one. If you stop continuing to grow and to learn and to, because we can easily, be sober and stop using all the skills that we've learned and become angry again and starting to hurt people again.
That's another one. You don't even necessarily have to drink, right?
Yeah.
Even though that's killing you. But all of the characteristics, the things that helped you grow in recovery, right? For some of us, it helped us with our employment. It helped us with our finances. It helped us with personal relationships, children, endless, creating a podcast, right?
Right.
But without some form of recovery and you don't take care of those character assets, the character defects are going to take over and you start destroying yourself.
Absolutely. And I think that's just kind of where the relapse starts.
That's that, I think, and definitely that is a good one, because before long you just become an angry person.
Yeah.
I tell you, I this is the way I look at it from my own personal recovery. You get to know people, you get to see people, you get involved. It's almost like watching a show.
Yeah.
Every week, and you're trying to figure out what's going to happen, and this person dies off, and this person has a baby, and these people get married, and but then all of a sudden the show gets canceled. Mm-hmm. What do you do?
Yeah.
You either find another show, find something to get interested in, or you're going to be in a state of mind where you don't have that everyday recovery reminder.
Agreed.
And you don't have to necessarily, I'm not saying you got to go to a meeting every day. I'm not saying you got to go to a meeting once. I'm not saying you got to do anything, but if you see those things pop up, you got to do something, right? I just finished reading that book Larry let me have. I just finished it like 2 days ago. That is a 1,000-page Stephen King book.
Oh, which one?
It's called Fairy Tale. Jill, you were in your
You were down in your chambers.
You were in your hormonal state whenever I talked about it. But
was I here or was I downstairs?
no, you were here. Was she not here?
Probably.
I think she was here.
I'm gonna say maybe.
But it starts out with a whole bunch of AA, and through it, the whole thing, there's a lot of AA.
Yeah.
And even in the very end
remember.
of this book, he makes the comment, take the cotton out of your ears and put it in your mouth. He's
really?
like, I heard in one of my dad's AA meetings one time, take the cotton out of your ear and put it in your mouth.
Yeah.
Right?
Can I also just say I suffer from CRS?
Is that like a Honda 250? What is that?
No, I just can't remember shit.
Oh, I thought it was a motorcycle.
I will. This is we were talking about some stuff earlier, and the topic of disease. If you guys have YouTube, go on. And we're not a glum lot.
And if you don't have YouTube, you might want to climb down out of the hill you live in.
Yeah. Well, and
Go to Best Buy.
Chances are you're not hearing us if you don't have YouTube.
but look up Norm Macdonald talking about the disease of alcoholism, and he compares. He kind of pokes fun at the disease concept, and he says, I got one uncle that's got bowel cancer, and another one that he said I got that disease of alcohol, and the bowel cancer goes down the list of symptoms, blood and pain and all this. And he says, what are your symptoms? And he goes, I find it easier to talk to people. He said, sometimes I meet a woman in a bar with the same disease.
That's wrong. Well, and
it's
I
very
think
funny. And
it is funny.
that's where the controversy lies. And that is
With Norm
the
Macdonald.
matter of choice. You don't choose to have cancer.
Right.
But there is a choice in picking up a drink. And
Sure.
Well, I mean, my first drink, 14 years old, that was it.
Yeah,
I
and
was
that
hooked
was me.
that one time. So I didn't choose. I chose to take that drink, not having any idea the adverse effects
But
it
how-
would have on my life for the next 30 years.
How many people take
30,
that first
40.
drink and never affects them? They just
right. But I think
have a beer every once.
what the deal is we lose that we make the choice. However, we lose control.
You ever heard
And
Norm
we-
Macdonald talking about the crocodile hunter?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a ripe old
And we don't
age
have
for-
any choice about the loss of control over it.
And that's, well, I mean, realistically, I think if we sit back and we look at it, growing up, I had a little bit of alcoholism in the family, and people would say, why does he do that or she do that whenever they know this is going to happen or that's going to happen? They just don't want to. I really did want to stop for a long time. But after a while, my brain would convince me to do it.
Yeah.
And that's the part a lot of people who don't have whatever this is don't understand, is that for some reason, no matter how bad it gets, we don't want to do it. You're either going to tie me down, put me in a cell, or I'm going to talk myself into doing it, right?
Right.
I made it 92 days one time. 92 days, longest I'd had since I was, I don't know, a long time. And I felt pretty good about myself. Matter of fact, I went out there to Brentwood and got my 90-day chip and
Okay.
was all proud and stuff. And it was like Christmas Eve or something, 2010. And I was sitting on my couch watching television all by myself on Christmas Eve. Poor, pitiful me.
Oh, yeah. So many.
And now I just love to do that.
I know, right?
Yeah, stay the fuck away from it. But sitting on my couch watching TV, and this guy comes on television, and he's like, "Do you Tanqueray?" And I was just like,
You're like, matter of fact.
How did you know?
No, I was like, I'll be damned. I don't think I ever have. And I've been sober 92 days. I mean, come on. And I mean, it wasn't 2 hours after that commercial came on, and my memory is gone.
Really? Were you like, matter of fact, I think I just may.
Yeah. So with that being said, I had 92 days. My kids were starting to talk to me again. Life was starting to get okay again. I had a lot of support from my friends because none of my friends, believe it or not, were alcoholics. I had all of this backing, but what I didn't have, I went to meetings once a month to pick up a chip. I never had a sponsor. I never read a big book. I never worked a step. I talked to God all the time, but I never once accepted any of the stuff that was going on in the world. I was a ticking time bomb.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just sitting back waiting on some guy to come on TV and go, "Do you Tanqueray?" And to be quite honest with you, he could have came on TV and said anything, you know. Do you mix vodka and turds? And I'd be like, I don't think I ever have.
When they start doing that.
I'm fixing to go grab some vodka and turds.
Just so y'all know too, I'm pretty sure Norm was one of us in the gambling aspect. He was a big gambler, and I think he. I've read and watched some stuff on Norm, and I love the guy. I mean, he's passed away now, but Norm gambling was his issue. But he did a skit on SNL, and he comes into a room. It's like a little AA meeting, right? And they're all sitting in chairs, and he barges in, he sits down, and he goes, "I'm just here to tell you, I thought I wasn't one of you people, but I am. I've gone back out there and I've decided I'm one of y'all. I'm here to tell you, my name's Norm, and I'm one of y'all." And the group leader says, "All right, well, anybody else like to share?" And this guy goes, "I'm Dave, and I haven't had sex with a dead body in 6 months." And look up on the board, and it says Necrophilia's Anonymous.
No.
And Norm goes, "Wait a minute." He jumps up. He goes, "No, I am better than y'all," you know, and he storms out. Only Norm, you know.
Now, Matt, we're going to lose our necrophilia audience.
I apologize.
Damn.
But, you know, that may be one we don't mind losing there. I don't know.
No,
We just all of a sudden go to 0 followers.
We need all the listeners we can get.
Yeah, even necrophilia.
And 6 months was pretty good.
Yeah, that is good.
My hat's off to that gentleman that has gone 6 months.
I had a, you know, we're funny and smart and quick witted, you know, and I love being around people like us because you never know. You really, it's amazing to me when you get the drugs and the alcohol out of the way. Some of the funniest, smartest people, you know, that you're ever going to meet when they get cleared up yeah, I was around some today, and I just enjoy that. I enjoy seeing them, that little bit of shine coming in their eyes, and they just kind of waking up a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no doubt. I've laughed more in recovery than I ever did. Genuinely laugh, you know, than I ever did before. So
we lost one listener apparently. First time I've ever looked at the analytics and it be -1.
It was that necrophilia guy.
That just happened.
Next week it'll be -3, and we'll have a whole country missing off of our.
I was actually worked at a tech at a treatment thing, and the guys were male clients were in the room with the nurse, and she was doing a health class, and she's trying to teach them about positive things that can redo your brain and doing I forget the exact deal now, but
Cognitive restructuring.
Yes. And so she's having them list what are positive things that you enjoy that give you a good feeling. And a guy goes, walking your dog, and she writes that down. And one says, listen to music, and she writes that down. And the guy sitting beside me said necrophilia right off the bat. And I already knew he was tossed out of class. I got up with him. I was like, that was funny, but you're gone. They're throwing you out for that one. So he and I sat outside, but I was like, man, you're so smart, like, to come up with that off the cuff. I mean, you got so much going on here that's good, and but anyway.
But you're an idiot.
But yeah.
iHeartRadio has now gone to 36.9% of our listeners, opposed to Apple Podcast is at 20. I need to look at Apple Podcast and see if our things aren't going straight to Apple Podcasts. That's kind of scary. Because that just doesn't make sense, does it, Jill? No.
I don't have any idea. I don't even know how what iHeartRadio is or how we got there.
I put us on there, but so that's just kind of odd, Y'all remember Kim Carnes? I like Kim Carnes. Sang Betty Davis Eyes. But my favorite song was the one she sang with Kenny Rogers.
Which was?
Man, you would put me on the spot. Oh, man. Matt, what was it?
I'm thinking of something totally unrelated. Well,
Conway
it's Kenny
Twitty.
Rogers related.
Conway Twitty with his little bitty head and his little fat fingers.
Conway was an old
lover. He's a lover.
He was a lover.
Gross.
What was
It's like
Kim
just
Carnes?
sleazy. So gross.
Kim Carnes and Kenny Rogers sang. God, dog! I was just listening to it the other day, and now I don't remember.
That's okay. That's okay.
Listen to stuff like that when I was a kid. I just remember thinking, this sucks.
See, my parents were rockers. I listened to Led Zeppelin, the Rolling Stones, and
then I'm riding home today. Guess what I listen to? Like I literally listen to everything.
No.
There's nothing that I don't.
We're still on Apple Podcast.
Bee Gees?
I rode. No,
I love the Bee
This
Gees,
is way worse than the Bee Gees. I rode home today and listened to Ralph Stanley bluegrass.
Yeah.
I was listening to all the old Brother
bluegrass.
out there, Mountain Dew and all them old songs about White Lightning and all that stuff. Man, them guys are talented. I mean, why would I listen to that?
When I jog, I listen to Frank Sinatra.
dude, you're so full of you don't jog.
I know, but I'm saying when I do,
if he did,
I did it my way. I'll be like, no, actually, I dabble in a little Frank Sinatra, a little Chopin.
Dean Martin.
I've never really cared for Dean.
I'm more of a
I
Dean guy than a
Sammy
Frank.
Davis Jr. sang the best version, maybe the first, to be honest with you, of Mr. Bojangles.
Oh, that's great.
If y'all don't know what that is, man, Bojangles, and he danced for you.
Jerry Jeff Walker wrote
Worn
it.
out
It's
shoe.
about a drunk.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's about a drunk.
But Sammy Davis Jr., I remember there was a time back in the day, Jill, where you couldn't just pick up something and go straight to a song you wanted to hear, right?
Well, no shit.
Okay, just make sure
I was there, man.
And so my little sister went to great lengths to find me the Sammy Davis Jr. singing Mr. Bojangles, the copy of it.
Oh.
And that was just, to me, that song, like he just, all the rest of them, kind of like Michael Jackson's version of Come Together by the Beatles.
Yeah, no, I don't listen to anything y'all are talking about.
So the backstory on Mr. Bojangles really happened. Jerry Jeff gets thrown in the drunk tank in New Orleans overnight. He's drunk, gets thrown in jail whenever back in the day. He's in there with a guy, and that's the story. He comes out of there. He had written that song when he got out of jail the next morning. So that was written about him being drunk.
Good song.
Yeah.
Good song.
It is a good song.
About
a dude and his dog. Yeah. And he's alcoholic. So,
and you remember when Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson sang that song together?
What, Ebony and Ivory?
No, that was Stevie Wonder.
That was
Michael Jackson.
Shit.
I knew it was coming. I was waiting. on
No, it was
Ba-doom,
Stevie
boom,
Wonder
boom.
and Paul McCartney.
They sang Ebony and I. Did they just not have nothing else to sing about? It's like, that's what we're going to sing about.
No, I mean,
Anyway.
no. So the story behind that was they were looking at their piano, and they noticed the keys were side by side.
Side by side on the piano.
And then one of them's like, the keyboard, oh Lord. You know, and then from there you got a song. Yeah.
There was a lot of cheesy stuff.
Not quite
in
as
the
good
80s,
as
man.
being
So
hung out in the
cheesy.
drunk tank all night.
I think it just gets cheesier like in the 70s, like that stuff you were talking about earlier.
What?
I don't know.
What was the guy's name that sang? I think his name was Richard something. But
Pryor?
No.
Oh, wait. No, he didn't
He
sing.
didn't sing.
he didn't do much singing. Richard, no man, not Gere. Even though Patrick Swayze did sing a song,
Richard Marx.
and Eddie Murphy sang a song.
Yeah, he did.
Richard
Party
Marx.
all the time.
Yep, that's it. My girl wants to potty all the time, and it was in the '90s. That wasn't in the '80s, I don't think.
No, it was 80s.
Was it '80s?
Yeah, absolutely.
Richard, oh man, it's so funny. It's so funny how we don't talk anymore. Who sang? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
His name wasn't Richard. It's so funny how I got to look it up. I don't have a choice. But that was my favorite song growing up. So anyway, it's so funny how we don't talk anymore. By who sang? Cliff Richards. Last name was Richards.
I don't know who that is.
Yeah, it's kind of like Todd Rundgren. It's just kind of like,
Who?
yeah, it's one of them.
You know, I always thought it was cool to hear a dude gets, because I've been, zip tied to those light poles down there in New Orleans back in the day.
When the hurricane came?
No, Barney Grove, by the police. Not thrown in the drunk tank, but just sort of suspended for a
Yeah,
little while.
it's like, hey, we got to tie you to
Time
this.
out.
You know, we got to violate your constitutional rights for just a
The
second.
problem
we'll be
is, in the
right
90s, they didn't have the technology, and any redneck with a pocket knife can get himself out of that when that cop rides off on that horse. So been there a little bit, but it's like, what did I do when I was detained by NOPD? Nothing productive. What did Jerry Jeff Walker do? Wrote a
song.
standard song. You know, like, I don't know. That always amazes me, you know?
Some of these things do.
Yeah.
But that brings us to an end of the show, folks. We've had our announcements. We've read all the emails, heard all the voicemails, lost a couple of listeners along the way. So, hopefully we can gain some back, especially with the with this amazing episode we just recorded. So, I think, Jill, you got anything for the audience? Anybody?
I just don't.
Well, pay attention to the Facebook page, guys. My daughter seems to be a little more active on it. And so hopefully soon we can put together a live stream, which is going to happen. It will happen. It's not something we're talking about. I just got to get everybody in tune on the same day, hopefully a Saturday or Sunday, I'm sure. And we'll be able to get to all of our Facebook folks and do a live stream, and I'll do a little research on how to do it, and I got these little machines that take care of all that.
And you know, we talked about this disease thing, but you guys all listen to this. Y'all all have your opinion too. Go on our Facebook, go on Spotify, whatever. Leave comments. What do you think? I mean, we're speaking for ourselves, but all you guys have an opinion. We'd love to see it.
We still got a phone number, 817-988-2530. gnbbozier@gmail.com. Any way you want to talk to us, feel free to. Love to hear from you. Love to hear some show ideas. Hey, Mike, Matt, Jill, what's your experience with this? We're not going to give you an opinion. We're going to give you our experience.
Yep.
Anything related to the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s for Jill, we can also give you an opinion on that, right? So anything Willie Nelson or Conway Twitty related,
Jerry
Matt's
Jeff,
got that covered.
Yeah,
So,
any of that. Yeah.
so anyway, we have been at Rule 62 Studios in Bossier City, Louisiana. And as always, we are the Grouch and the Brainstorm.